What's good, everybody? Injured here. Going to be giving you another in-depth guide, this time to Sirius. He is one of my favorite characters, and I'm excited to bring it to you. So, as you know, I don't like just reading through the different skills. I will hopefully explain them to you and tell you how they work. So I'm going to start with his M1. And his M1, as you can see, his sword is glowing right now, so that means it's charged. It charges every 8 seconds. And it's going to do amplified damage, meaning or more damage, dealing 22, I believe it is, 22 or 24, yeah, 22. And it puts weaken on the enemy. So as you see, it does weaken. His normal auto attacks do 8 damage. And what weaken does is the enemy does half damage and half healing. So it's very powerful. So something to keep in mind when you have enemy weakened, you want to trade damage with them. Because if they're going to do half healing, if they're going to do half damage to you, it's really weakening them, right? So if you end up weakening them and then you start healing, basically what you're doing is you're wasting that buff. So when you get weakened on someone, trade the damage. The only reason I wouldn't trade the damage is if I literally have someone who's about to die, like 1 or 2 hits. Otherwise, let your teammate take some of the damage, you take some of the damage, take advantage of the weaken. Sirius is a little bit different. He's a high damage healer, so he's going to usually have about as much damage as he does have healing. So keep that in mind. Now the EX is a range. It's his like lone range damage skill, which is it's actually pretty good too. It's good for chasing if someone's trying to get away, and it's good to just do some poke damage. So because it does a snare, so it will slow the enemy, and it does 24 damage, which is a lot of damage. It's more than his empowered attack. So it's like hitting 3 auto attacks, normal auto attacks. So try to work that into your gameplay as much as you can. It's actually quite strong. So second is Sunlight, which is his heal, and you just basically drop it and it heals, and which you know is no real surprise. So we'll come over here and show you. Well, that thing just died, but basically it's your typical AoE heal. Something to keep in mind with heals is that heals they recharge based on how many allies you have around you. And so as you can see, like if I'm maxing out my heal here, it actually doesn't heal that much. Like that little thing is almost doing the same amount of damage as I am healing. So just keep that in mind too. Like you're not just going to be able to spam your M2s and keep somebody alive. That's just not how this game works. Which will move us to our space. And so you saw me use it before. You kind of go into an area. As you see, there's a circle there, and in that circle we'll get healed and receive damage. So I'm going to show that over here when this spawns back. So you see he gets low, you cast a heal, use your space, you do burst damage, and you heal that. And so that's a big way to swing with Sirius. You have to use your spaces and try to hit at least 2 people, one of which being an ally. That is going to be some of the big swings. Now be careful with it because there is a pushback. You'll see as I cast it on the orb here. You see that little push? You got to be careful because sometimes you can do that and it makes your teammates miss important skills. So don't just use it willy-nilly. I mean, you want to use it as much as you can, but be smart with how you use it. Another cool thing with his space is while he's traveling there, he's in the 2 beam forms, he's invulnerable. So be sure to use that again on deadly injections, croak ultimates, things like that, where you can help not take big damage. Another cool thing about it too is like, let's say let me see what I can do. I'm going to do it over here. So like let's say I'm fighting somebody here, and you know you want to burst heal, you want to burst damage. Maybe one of these people is your ally, and you're like, oh man, I'm not going to keep this guy alive. If you cast it over here, it comes back and it actually still does the effect. It's not that the skill's negated, it's just that it makes you come back to your target location. So while you're dueling somebody, you can throw that in, and you're going to do a little bit more burst damage, you're going to do a little bit more burst healing, and you know you can do it here on this map, you can probably do it here. This one's going to be harder to hit though, because see, if I just do it a little bit to the side, I just barely missed that. And so you have to be really dead center with that and come in, and you'll see you'll do the damage and the heal. And again, I mean with this wall, again, you just got to be really dead center, because even if I'm a little bit past, now I'm on the other side of the wall and I didn't make it back. So use that wisely, because that will help you in melee battles big time. So it'll help you heal your teammates, it'll help you do damage. So moving on to the Q. The Q is oh, I forgot the EX space. I actually never ever use the EX space. It does a little bit more damage, does a little bit more healing. There are rare occasions where I think it'll be worth it. And it looks like it has a little bit more range. Let me see here. Maybe it's about the same range. I don't love the skill. I think you're much better to save for your ultimate, which is really strong, and use your EX1. Somebody let me know if I'm mistaken. Let me know in the comments good ways that you've used it. But again, basically all it does is increase the damage and healing done. Which, okay, I'd rather get the energy, you know, for the 4 damage and 4 healing. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to Sunrise, which is our first counter ability that we're doing with heroes. And so you see that little counter bar coming down, and what happens is if you hit that, you'll again teleport. This is a way to avoid damage. You know, if you have a Croak ultimate, something like that, but that's dependent upon somebody hitting you. So don't count on it. Use your space to avoid the damage. But what it does is heals in an area around you when you land. And so it doesn't do damage, it just heals. And so, like, what I'll have to do is as this guy takes damage, if I were to take damage, I can come in, heal him up a little bit, and that will help with my burst heal. The other thing with that, though, to keep in mind is that it resets your M1 power-up hit. So I'll hit this guy, he hits me, and then I'll come in, hit this guy again. And so if you time that right, like normally if you're getting attacked by like 2 people or someone else, they actually attack a lot faster. So it's like boom, 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 like really, really quick. So, oh, I'm about to die to this thing. Wasn't paying attention. Holy cow. Okay, let me heal back up. What that does though is that's basically a 40 burst damage with a little bit of a heal in there. So that's actually really quite strong. Oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, so you hit, trance, boom, hit, and I missed that one, but that's because I'm a noob. But you can see the potential there is a lot of damage, a lot of healing, and it's just a really strong combo to use. So try to work that in. Now the E is Lunar Strike, which gives a Petrify. And you need to be sure to be using your E. I often forget in the heat of battle to use my E. And it's just so important, especially because you're going to hit multiple people. Look at that. You hit 3 people. If you could petrify the whole team or petrify 2 of the team, I mean, even petrifying 1 of the team is really good. But if you can petrify multiple people, that's really good. So just make sure to use that as much as you can, and you want to try and land it. And of course, it gives you energy gain. So it's important that you're using as many skills to gain energy as possible. So moving on to the R, I've actually just recently started working this into my gameplay. I wish I would have a little bit earlier, but again, I actually like his ultimate. I think he's got a little bit one of the better ultimates if used properly, because you can hit a couple people and heal a couple people all at the same time. It can just be a big swing of health, but it does 16 damage and it slows, and you get a little bit of a dash. So the thing that's nice about this is if you have your weaken up, right, and you weaken, you dash in, and look at how much damage I did in the span of like half a second. So it's basically like doing almost 40 damage without having to use your Q combo. And so the other thing that's nice about that is it puts weaken on them if you do it that way, and a fading snare from your R, which means they're not going to be able to run away from you as easily. So if you're rushing somebody down, that's how to keep them from getting away from you, hopefully as much as possible. And then, what you could do if you have, at least half a bar is you hit, you R, let's say they get far away, you now throw again, you do another 20 damage, and you continue to inflict infading snare on them so they can't get away from your teammates. Just really good combos there to use. He's got a lot of great combos, and you just need to be sure to utilize them. So now on to his ultimate, which is Astral Beam, which is just a beam that comes out of him. Now, something to keep in mind with this, the reason I like this ultimate so much is that it is a beam, it is not a projectile. And so there are a few other beams in the game. One of them is like Eva's Flamethrower, Eva's Tractor Beam, and then his, and I can't think if there's any other, but anyways, what that means is it can't be countered. If somebody's in the countered state, they take the damage. They don't get to counter it. So, when you have that really slippery character who, is counting on being able to use a counter to continue living, well, you use your ultimate, they counter, and they just eat it and die. So that's part of the reason why I love his ultimate so much, is because it really helps kill those hard-to-kill characters when they get into those situations where they're just running and they're super hard to track down because of that. So now I'm going to show you guys some of the pros and cons of the character, and from there we're going to take a look at the Battlerites. So the Battlerites for me are actually, he has some of the most difficult Battlerites to choose from in my opinion. In the first one, I would almost never get this one. I think in some instances it can be okay because it allows the weaken to last longer. But I think that the healing more is important because one of your heals is based on you hitting a counter, which is it's okay, but it's not a guaranteed heal. Your other heal is actually kind of slow, as we showed before. And then your space, if you're spacing onto someone to heal them, that means you're putting yourself in danger. So you're putting yourself in a position next to somebody who's taking damage. So I like the idea that you're going to do a little bit more healing, and then it lowers the cooldown so you can get away quicker. So I think that's really important. And then the Lunar Strike giving you a second cast, it's very small. I think that one can be good too if used properly, but I've been starting to use this middle one a little bit more for the extra healing and extra mobility. So the second one is Blinding Light, where the blind is really annoying, but I don't often get it. Like, I hate when people use it on me, but I really like Radiance, which heals me anytime I heal my ally with my M2. And to me, that's just really important because, again, my healing's kind of slow. And so if I'm using a heal on me, that's even less healing going on to my teammate. So if I can heal my teammate and keep me up a little bit, I just think that's really good. So I personally, I just wouldn't get this one. I mean, it's okay. The thing that's nice about it is you're moving, and so people aren't used to that. So they're like, oh, he's not using his counter. And they hit you, and you were using your counter. So I would pick between these two, and I lean towards Radiance. So round 3, we have Illumination, which is your Q, now heals yourself. You have Moonstone, which successful sunlights reduce the cooldown of Lunar Strikes. That's your M2s. And then Celestial Cycle, which is Prismatic Strike restores all sunlight charges, which, again, I said his healing's kind of slow. Sometimes you don't have the recharges. It could be nice. You use your R if you're able to work your R into your combos more, and then you're able to keep healing. I could see some value in this one. Again, as I'm working my R more into my gameplay, I see the value in this one, but I typically try to get Illumination. And part of that is, again, when dueling, if I'm hitting my Q and I'm in a duel situation, it only increases my damage, which is good, but I like the fact that if I hit it, I heal up a little bit and do more damage. I just think it's better, and I think it's better too on a disengage because you're healing yourself, because if you're disengaging, you're not going to get that extra damage. And so I personally just think Illumination is really strong. And this one I think is one of his worst ones. So your weapon charge is 20% faster. Right now it's 8 seconds, so I think that takes it down to 6 seconds. Which, I don't know, I go back and forth. I'm like, is 2 seconds a big deal? In this game, it can be. But, I don't know, I go back and forth. And the movement speed increase while weapon is charged, I'm not super worried about that. If I'm in a place where I need to have more movement speed to, like, really catch up, I just mount. And otherwise, I'm using my space and my Q to move around the map. So I think this one's kind of weak. So I often end up getting Aegis just because I like living longer and can hopefully heal through some more stuff while dueling. I don't know. I think this is one of his weakest picks, actually. It's this round 4 pick. So I often end up getting Aegis. And then Astral Beam causes Shockwave, knocking nearby enemies back. That can be okay, but it can also make it really difficult because you turn very slow while ulting, which means you might not be able to catch up to the person. So I often end up getting this one, which recharges my weapon and gives me all my heals back. So then you can use your heals real quick, use your ultimate onto somebody, you have your heals back up, and then you can go back to healing. I just think this is better all around. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you learned something about Sirius. Hope you learned a little bit of combos and had a good time. Alright, so as usual, we enter the center, where you get a little poke damage coming in, a little bit of pressure coming out. The stun just missing, or the petrify rather. I leap in, doing a bit of damage and healing. Now I start switching to M2 healing, as I had to fall back. I trade a couple M1s, use my trance to get out of there, or my counter. Try to get around the corner, start doing a bit of healing again, and I see a good opportunity to space in, hit a couple enemies, weaken, do some M1 trading here again, a couple heals, trade M1s into a trance, come back out with my ultimate, try to do a little bit of damage. He leaped out, and both of my allies walk away. So I M2 heal, space in again, creating separation, do a ton of follow-up damage there, and I use my trance again to come out, try to heal. He trances my EXM1, I weaken him into my R, which does a lot of burst damage, and he's very low now. Just trying to heal as much as I can as I try to enter. I try to space in there and am just a bit too late. Drop my stun, able to hit him and get the petrify, grab a couple orbs, use my EXM1 again, and it gets reflected, which is unfortunate. We do end up taking one down, take some pressure, hit my trance, which recharges my blade, and I'm able to kill off Shifu. So space in to do a bit of healing. M2's now coming off, and we have a 2-on-1. I eat an M2, and I slow down, accidentally use a heal instead of my E, and I heal myself back up. As he comes back out, I space in to try to chase him down. My teammate gets the kill, and that is how to play Sirius. Thanks for tuning in to the most positive place in gaming. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in a comment. Don't forget to like the video, and please make sure to subscribe. Have a good one.